Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
Readiness all over. We're seeing a rise in asymmetric warfare where biological threats are becoming tools of leverage. They offer a form of asymmetric warfare, cheap, deniable, capable of targeting civilians, infrastructure, and military readiness all at once.
Welcome to my channel. My name is Christy, and this is Christy's Musings. You know, I've come to the conclusion lately that everything around us, nothing is real. I kind of alluded to that in my Tuesday video. But I've had conversations with a dear friend of mine, and we're talking about how AI has taken over so much of our lives. But I've just begun questioning how much of our reality is manufactured to keep us in check. You know, we're all here pinching pennies and avoiding doing things that we used to have no problems doing in the past. But we're seeing businesses like movie theaters and restaurants shut down, close up their doors, because no one can afford to go to frequent them anymore. Yet, you see ballrooms being built, you see all sorts of like spaceships going out to space, you see wars, you hear rumors of wars, everything going on. So there's an unlimited supply of money for everybody but you, John Q. Public. I've got a bill from the hospital, you know, paid for all the procedures and all. They tell you what they think that you're going to owe when you go to the hospital and all, to get like echocardiograms and stuff like that. Well, about a month or so after you have procedures that involve doctors looking at the stuff, those doctors are going to bill you too. So now I got another bill. But the other day, I walked outside. I think it was Tuesday. I walked outside, and the sky was so pretty. The birds were singing. Everything was so pleasant. There's some bunnies running off to the side over there. And I just, in my heart, I knew this is not going to last long, because I looked up and there was already lines starting in the sky. And sure enough, I should have went ahead and took pictures, because by noon, I know it's probably even like 11 o'clock, everything was already dark and overcast. But when you're on social media, you have to check and see if your influencer you're listening to, are they AI music. I sent a music video to my brother, and I felt so embarrassed. He said, well, I really like the song, but it was AI. I was so embarrassed, because that makes me feel like one of them old ladies that don't know what they're doing, you know, doddering old lady. I guess I'm getting there, right? But my dog Thor, he's looking at me. My dog got sick the other day. He's had a tore up stomach. He's old. He's 15 plus. We can't decide if he's 15 or 17. But he's old. And anyway, he's had a tore up stomach. And been praying over and everything. My biggest thing that I can do for him, you know, is try to make sure he's staying hydrated. But my biggest weapon is prayer, right? But all of this got me to thinking about bioweapons, and especially the one that happened in 2020. I still believe that was a weapon. And you know, you're seeing all this propaganda that Russia and Iran are directing towards the United States, and they're picking on Trump pretty hard. The Lego men, have you seen those? And I was like, they could just quit all that, because it looks like Trump's making a big enough fool of himself without their help, But no, like I said, I've been thinking about the C virus and future events, and so I've been looking up things that's happened to American people. But I remembered a television show, I think I've mentioned it on here before, that I used to watch that series called Fringe. And in that show, they have one that's called the Bishop Revival. And in that one, there was a biologic that targeted certain eye colors and stuff like that. Certain ethnicities. And that was the premise of the movie with James Bond, No Time to Die. That was the premise of that one, a ethnic biologic. So, like, and I have to include myself in this too, because, when it comes to test taking and stuff like that, I'll flunk them. I do not test well. So I wouldn't be considered an undesirable, especially now that I've gotten older. But, you think about how they've done all of these tests on undesirables in the past, like the Tuskegee experiments. Have you heard about those, where the men were untreated for their syphilis? I believe the syphilis was probably given to them by the government too. But anyway, untreated syphilis, human radiation experiments, Operation Green Run, Project MK Ultra, biological warfare tests such as what they did in San Francisco, where they released the toxin over the city to see how the clouds would disperse the toxins, and also hepatitis experiments. That's the ones they're telling us about. But you think about the evil done with the nuclear wars and stuff like that. Men are evil. They can be evil. Just been watching this show. I wouldn't recommend it if you are offended by S activity, but it was called Orphan Black. It's about clones. And, it really got into eugenics and cloning and bioweaponry, all of these things. And like I said, that made me understand there's people that think that they are gods and they're God's gift, or they're God's gift to mankind, or something like that. But they see themselves here and the rest of humanity down here, and so we're here for their play toys. But just like with my dog Thor, my biggest weapon again is prayer. And we need to be praying without ceasing, because some of the stuff, that I can contemplate and others are mentioning, it's kind of scary.
But retired Admiral John Richardson, once the highest-ranking officer in the U.S. Navy, has also alluded to the potential for DNA-based bioweapons, saying, as you get things like genome editing, and you get these capabilities that can be more and more tailored, it becomes a lot more targetable. And so it's something that we have to mind. Be careful who you send your DNA to. Experts in the field.
In other news, I wanted you to be aware of FISA 702. They say it's to surveil non-Americans, but if you think for 1 minute that this is not going to be used to target or surveil Americans, you got another think coming. You know, if you can sit in your living room and talk to your family members about things that you would like to do as far as improving the aesthetics of your house, and then you go to your phone or tablet or whatever and start looking, and you start getting advertisements for home improvements and stuff like that, you know that you've got listening ears. So if you're planning on doing anything, not that I recommend, because you know I'm too lazy for all that. I do these videos, and that's my weapon and my prayer. But anyway, just throwing that out there. But everything you do is being surveilled. But also, all of our activity and news is being filtered through this Zionist narrative and doctrine. And so what you're seeing is probably been allowed. And if by chance, like I said, you're watching my video, it somehow slipped through, probably. But anything considered anti is going to be censored and possibly even punished. I've talked about the USS Liberty on my channel several times. I even have a t-shirt that I showed you all. The other day I was looking up Alex Jones because I've been hearing about him in the news, which I did a short about him. But I saw that the AI that tells you about Alex Jones that pops up when you put him in the search engine, it's saying that Alex Jones put out anti-conspiracy theories when he talked about what happened to the USS Liberty. But again, I always talk about being peaceful. But we do need to do something about what's happening to our country. There's strength in numbers. But, like I said, when you do things, you're going to have to be aware that anytime there's a grassroots activity, it's going to be infiltrated by agents of destruction. So, like I said, you might have to resort to old school methods of getting in touch with one another. But just remember, there's strength in numbers, and pray without ceasing. Before I go, if you wanted to see, I've been working on some little crafts I wanted to share with y'all. Had all of these little spools left over. My son likes the ones with the bells. But anyway, this one had the little, I think it's called a hydrangea. I forgot. Anyway, it has a little hydrangea on it. And so I put the blue lines on it and everything. And these are some beads that I made. And then the jingle bell. And this one My daughter had strung together some beads to make earrings, and then she decided she wasn't going to do that. So I used her beads and put on the end of this one. It's got polar bears and butterflies. This one's kind of like a butterfly identification. My son liked it because it's got the red. He can see red. And he liked this one with the red button because it's kind of clear and shiny. And again, here's one that I made this blue bead. And then these were something off of some broken earrings, and I just put them on the end of that one. And last night while I was listening to Candace, which I love to do on the weekdays, I was painting and applying. This is washi tape here. And then I decided to, and this one's got washi tape. See, it's got a little dragonfly. But I decided that, because I love circus, evil circus, yeah. But anyway, I did one with a circus theme. But anyway, that's what I've been up to besides another project. You can kind of see it off there, but I'm not gonna, because it's not finished. It's on the mannequin head that I made. But I will reveal that at a later time. It's not finished. Just like you and me, we're not finished yet, okay? So, pray without ceasing, and remember, God loves you, and so do I. I'll talk to you later.